community. And this is the first of our what we're calling the Let's Talk About series, where we informally get together and discuss a given topic. And today's topic is cooperation and team formation. And we don't really prepare for these. Everybody just brings what they know to the table, and then we just basically just compare notes. So, you know, this is a little bit different than some of the hangouts you might see on Google, where they're very well prepared and there's a panel discussion of experts. We're just throwing things out there, but you know, occasionally we get some pretty good ideas. We have a few times. So let's go through. We kind of informally introduced each other already. So, but let's do that again. Tell us what city you're in and a little bit about what you're doing. And out of office virtual assistant just came in after we kind of informally introduced ourselves. So why don't you introduce ourselves? Tell us your real name, not, if you want, not your brand name. What city you're in, and a little bit about what you do.
Hey, Rob and everybody. I'm Denise. I am the owner of Out of the Office Virtual Assistants, and it's in the Northeast U.S. in Vermont on a beautiful sunny day, wishing I was outside.
I didn't put it together that you were Denise. I already know you, Denise. Even I have already met. But sometimes putting the brand name together with a face can be difficult. But the virtual assistants, I'm very impressed by what you've done. Denise also runs the virtual assistants community on Google+. So, you know, if you want something done virtually, she's the go-to woman. Okay, who wants to go next? Doesn't matter. Somebody jump up.
My name is Preston Odenbred. I'm actually from San Pedro Sula, Honduras. I work with small businesses and helping them create new ways of using technology. We have a new platform that's going to be launched here at the end of this month that I think is going to be phenomenal. It just kind of ties everything into one portal, so you don't have to go all over the creation. And I love, you know, talking to people and finding out a little bit about them and how I can help them, and see if I can bring people in that they may not know of.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, Prescott. Hayden, why don't you go next?
My name's Hayden. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I'm only 19 years old, but I'm starting up my own small business solutions company specializing in marketing solutions for small business companies. Currently in the learning phase, just meeting with a few small businesses, and I'm here mostly just to get involved in the Google community to use the resources here.
Well, welcome, Hayden. And Vancouver is a really hotbed of entrepreneurial activity these days, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like they get really good developers in Vancouver, right? Very creative. Am I imagining that, or is that, do you think that also?
It's a big corporate city. So you have,
really?
Like, Eating Games is based here. You have lots of big corporate companies that will base themselves in Vancouver. That will start up in Vancouver even. There's also a strong community connection in Vancouver and the surrounding communities. But small businesses going the way they are, there does need to be more solutions offered for small businesses.
Okay, great. So, and why don't we go to Andrew next, who was about to go duck hunting, but he joined us. I'm just joking, Andrew. Let's introduce yourself, Andrew.
My name's Andrew Ledford. I do dog training, and in California, USA.
What city are you in California?
In LA County.
Oh, okay.
Just on the LA-Orange County line border.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got the dream job that most of us kind of dream about, a dog trainer. That sounds like such a cool job. Anyway, guys, as I said, what we're here today to discuss, and no real prepared agenda. I don't have anything necessarily more brilliant to say than anybody else. But it came up in our last hangout that people asked about, well, how do we build out a team? And I actually have done a little bit of economic research on this. There are just a massive number of people, at least in the United States, and I think the world, that are pretty much working alone. I think sometimes they're called solopreneurs. Economically, there's a huge number of people who have dropped out of the workforce in the U.S., and I don't think they've dropped out of life. I think they're just out of that formal corporate scene. But somebody asked, like, well, how do you build out a team? And they were including things like outsourcing, where you actually pay people to join you. But also, how do you get people to cooperate for mutual benefit? So that's the basic topic of today. Does anybody have any? I'm not going to hog the conversation. I did that last time. Anybody? Why don't just somebody jump in? How do you think you get people to cooperate and form teams to help you, but also to help them? Go ahead. Anybody?
Well, I think one of the main things you have to do is, get to know people, build that relationship first to find out, what their likes are, what similarities they have between you and what you're doing. And then obviously if there's a good synergy there, then you just kind of move on, getting to know them better, doing more Google Hangouts, sharing things with each other, and kind of forming that.
Yeah. I mean, you're totally right on about that. Relationship building is key, and it's kind of a little buzzwordy, but it really is important. You just can't go from 0 to 100 miles an hour in one step. It has to be like you have to know each other. You have to know what people do well at, what they like, what they don't like. You really have to know people before you take that next step. That requires some trust to do some business together. Who else? Denise, how about you have some good thoughts on this?
I think along with relationships, a relationship starts with a common interest. So if you want to build a team, you have to build your team with people who have a common interest, and in business, that would be somebody with a similar vision to you.
That's also
so if you create a vision, you want to find people with the same vision to help build that up.
Yeah, I started to write this ebook, and it ended up being kind of a nightmare. And I was doing it with it was about co-founders, forming co-founder agreements. And I've never had a co-founder. And in the Silicon Valley, they talk a lot about, they've almost got a fetish for it. They will not fund anybody unless they give a co-founder. And there's been a little pushback against that because some people do launch businesses by themselves. But in general, they really like it up there. So I said, well, why don't I write a little ebook on how this is done? And what better way to do that than to try to get a co-founder while I'm writing it? So I found a really good gal to write it with, and she's very helpful. It ended up, though, being a massively complex issue. The whole equity thing is really, really complicated. A lot of people, when you form a co-founder, they'll say, well, let's split the deal 50-50. Well, it is never 50-50. I mean, right off the bat, if you say that, somebody could end up doing 10 times more work. It's massively complicated. But one thing we did find out is you really got to ask each other a lot of questions right up front. And so I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent there. Somebody else jump. Anybody have any thoughts on that or other issues about that?
Where are you at?
Where am I at?
Bye.
Oh, you're on the phone. Anybody else have any thoughts on cooperation in general, forming teams, forming partnerships, anything at all? Denise, why don't you, I know you probably have some thoughts.
Oh, yeah, because I love to talk.
Go ahead and talk. You're a good talker. You're an interesting person.
I mean, what everybody has said, it is really important to know the people that you're working with and to have a common goal. But also, underneath that whole current is knowing how to deal with people. And I'm not going to use the word manipulation, even though women are very good at that. We'll go with the more social engineering thing. You need to understand that when you work with a team, not everybody is a clone of yourself, and it shouldn't be. You should be a good complement to each other. So if you have a common goal, chances are you're not going to like everybody on your team. And if you do, then there's something really wrong. But it's learning how to navigate those waters and still getting the productivity out of all of those people to your end goal, and still keeping it light and making it fun. It's so much easier to work in a fun environment than to work in a dull and boring one where you're just cranking out work and just sitting there, in your little 2x2 area and cranking away.
Yeah, you just made like a half dozen good points there. But on the complementary thing, that, yes, have common goals, and then have complementary skill sets, I think you were saying. That is usually the case. But sometimes it's good to also double down on your strengths. Sergi and Ben, the guys who started Google didn't have, they had the same strength. They both were technical people. So that's a good point. I love your point about fun. And something else came to mind when you were saying that I just read. You were talking about how navigating it, and I just read an article. I was going to post it about what do you do, because a lot of times when you have a team, I have some teams. I don't pay anybody, but I have some teams I'm trying to get some things done with on Google Plus. Community moderators is good. We have a team to manage the entrepreneurs community. What do you do when not everybody agrees on something? Because you can run by consensus a little bit, but consensus will only take you so far. And what this article I read said was kind of interesting. They said if you can't get consensus, which a lot of times you won't, then still communicate with everybody, but find out if they can live with the solution. So they say, look, Joe, I know you don't like this, but if we do this, can you live with it? And that's gone a long way too. Other thoughts, Denise? Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. And, I love the entrepreneurs community because the mods do such a great job in keeping all the stuff that we don't want to see in there.
Tons of it.
But having a consensus is good as long as it doesn't bog down the process. If we waited for everybody to make, the mods in that particular community, there's only 7 of you. But if you had a group of 20 or 30 developers working on a project, trying to get a consensus from 30 people or even somewhat of a majority interest is rather difficult. So at some point, someone just has to wear the big britches and say, okay, overall, this is where we're going. I know that most of you like it. Some of you don't. Can you live with it? And can you continue moving forward? If you can't, now's the time to let me know and extricate yourself from the project.
That's also really insightful, and it seems through human history, the same kind of numbers keep coming up on how big teams should be, and they don't ever go over 12. I don't think platoons in Army are 12. It's usually like 7 or something is where you can, really get collaborative work together. Do you think that? You can't. It's amazing what open source people do with hundreds of people. But to get a team, it seems like it does have to have a certain number of people. Is that other people's experience? Or?
I've done some work with a team of people. The biggest I've ever done is a team of 6, and that was with complementary skill sets, not same skill sets. And I found that even though we had the same vision, 6 people I found was too many to be having at the top. I think that if you're going to have a group of people working together, that you need to have everyone at the top having the same vision, everyone down below them having the same vision. So the people running it should be a smaller group that can make the decisions and have the people that share the visions underneath them supporting that.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've heard of the
thing keeps coming up, so that's a good. That's one that's obviously very important.
Yeah, I think that I'm sure you've all heard of the servant leadership.
I have not. Why don't you tell us about it?
Basically, it's the best example is if you imagine a pyramid. If you're building a business or a company or an organization, anything where there's a leader and then a hierarchy almost of sorts, where you have people underneath you supporting all the same, working towards the same goal. What you have is the leader would be at the top when it's developing. The leader creates the vision. He creates where the company's going to go. We'll say company for now. Company, where is the company going to go? He decides all the big decisions, and he builds up a team underneath him that share that vision and have a skill set that complements his skill sets. But ultimately, he's making the decisions. Now, when he's ready to, say, launch the company or go into actually go into action, you flip the pyramid upside down. And now instead of the people serving his vision, he's serving them.
Okay. What is that called again? I didn't catch the name.
Servant leadership.
Servant leadership. Okay. Interesting.
I'm sure there's other names for it, but basically it's the idea of you build up a team around you that shares your vision and that believes in what you're working for. And when you've motivated them and you've trained them and you have that team built up, you flip that pyramid upside down, and now it's you serving the people underneath that used to be underneath you. Now it's all about you serving them.
That sounds like almost like something could be used in a startup launch. Because
yes, definitely on a startup launch. But
okay.
In general too, you can use it. You can apply it. You can apply it in any leadership position.
Okay. Andrew, why don't you have teams of dogs? do they work the same as people, or what's your thoughts on the whole issue? And working with
actually,
teams?
I'm kind of interested in how do you find people to be on your team?
Oh, that's another whole yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, how do you do it?
I am struggling with that. I'm trying to find moderators for my community. Most people just think I'm doing a great job.
Yeah, well, I've struggled for that forever. I don't think finding moderators is a huge challenge, but yeah, I mean I've been struggling with that for years now. Finding team members. That's kind of why we're doing this meeting.
That's the current thing I need to do, because I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is start moderating the community. The last thing I do before I go to bed. A fairly large.
What's the name of your community?
Dogs.
Dogs. And how many members are there now?
You know, I don't keep track anymore.
Approximately?
67,000.
67 flipping thousand. Holy cow. So that's got to be one of the bigger ones on Google Plus then. Huh?
I think it's the 19th largest.
And you're moderating that yourself?
Yeah.
That's wacko. Oh, come on. You can find them. You just put out there must be people you like on there that would help.
There are. Most of them just that I've asked so far have said, you're doing a great job.
Okay. I think you could. I think if you put that kind of team member is not hard to find, but I'll help you with that. But the broader issue you raised, I mean, is a good one. And you're talking. I think about the easiest case, finding a moderator in a popular community. But the broader, like, how do you find team members? And since I'm so crappy, maybe other people can weigh in on this. Denise, or maybe you, or anybody. Somebody, how do you find team members to work with you?
It all depends on really what your project is, or what you're looking for. I mean, you can look. Obviously, the interaction and the engagement that you have on Google Plus is by far going to be the best for seeing what a person is really like. But a lot of people, depending on the industry and everything else, LinkedIn is a really good resource, especially the groups there, which are similar to the Google Plus communities. You can see, if you go over there and you look at what someone's posting, you can see whether it's crap or if it's, just a link farm, or if they're actually having legitimate interaction with other people in the industry or in that area that you're looking for. Recruiters are fairly inexpensive. An independent recruiter, and to get some, if you are looking to get people on board.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting idea. I can't afford it now, but that's because there's a lot of that market is kind of glutted, isn't it, for recruiters?
My next big project is going to be a Kickstarter program. So I'm looking for people to work with that would want to help support it, especially for doing the social media aspect and, just trying to build a team for that.
Well, what's the program?
I wanted to do a television/documentary program. It'll probably be an internet TV program about dogs.
Oh, any specific area of dogs? Will it be a training or?
Well, I want to have it an extension of the dog community to start with, and interview people, highlight people that are in the community, things that they want to hear and know about.
Wow, that's a really interesting idea.
So I really want to have it really built around Google Plus.
Yeah, because I want to do something, not maybe that much yet. My vision doesn't extend quite that far, but I'd like to do something sort of similar with the entrepreneurs community. So are you doing hangouts with the dogs community, or?
I have started doing a few, but I had quit because I wanted it more organized.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I took the opposite approach of you. I just decided to be disorganized. And for me, I think it's working better. I decided, if I wait to get organized, that's never going to happen.
And
I've been waiting 50 years to get organized. I gotta admit it. So that's why we're doing this disorganized hangout instead of an organized one. But yeah, I was thinking sort of the same thing where, we're recording this now. And this goes to my YouTube page, and eventually we'll go, I'll tie it all together somehow. But, so you're actually talking about almost a TV, a more polished broadcast, like a reality TV show? Is that what you're thinking of?
Well, it would be a combination of that. Yes, I kind of have this vision of doing, it'd be part reality TV, part, do you know who Hauser is?
I'm listening. I might unplug the phone.
Anyway, so it would be part reality. I think that would be an interesting thing. There'd be a lot of just general information that would be very helpful. What I think of as life-saving information, things that would really benefit those 60-some thousand people and prevent a lot of heartbreak in their life. And then there would be events, dog events. So like the Easter parade we have here and the Halloween parade and dog expos and that sort of thing.
Well, that sounds like a wonderful idea. I mean, I'd like to kind of track your progress on that. I personally would start doing that the way I'm doing it, by organizing more hangouts. I would get those moderators, start doing hangouts, and start doing what you're doing now, just talking about it. And then, I mean, that could work. That could work as a Kickstarter campaign, so that's really, really interesting.
I've been looking into Kickstarter, and it's a challenge. You really should have a team to help you out.
You have to have a team. You have to be. I did a crowdsourcing campaign. It wasn't even a campaign. I just wanted to see what I used Rocket Hub, and I just wanted to see how they worked. So I have a project called World Startups. It's a web community for startup companies. It does not have much traction, but I just wanted to see how they worked. And so I did it on Rocket Hub, and what I learned is the videos are really, really important. You have to have a good video, and I have a problem on videos is that, they're supposed to be short. They're supposed to be like 2 minutes long, and I ramble on for hours, and I digress, and I tell stories of my youth, all the stuff you're not supposed to do on videos.
That's where you can edit it down and have a separate video for people who want that information.
Yeah. Okay, I want to ask another question to Hayden or Denise or to me. Do you guys feel like you have teams now, and are you looking for teams now? Either Hayden or Denise weigh in on that.
I feel like I'm always.
Oh, go ahead, Hayden.
That was a bad move. I said both of you. And go ahead. We'll start with Hayden. Go ahead, Hayden.
I'm always building up people around me that I think can help me out. As of right now, I'm a little small to be building up a team, but I'm always thinking of people who I think have a similar mindset, a similar they have a similar personality to me, or personality that would work with me, or somebody who could share the same vision as me.
And people you like, I think you're saying.
Yeah, people I like, exactly. So I'm always networking and building
those are more like associates, aren't they? I mean, that's...
Yeah. And,
so
and like I said, I'm in the development stage of my company.
I'm sorry, say that again. I interrupted you.
It's okay. Like I said, I'm in the development stage of my company, so I'm working behind the scenes with small businesses to discover exactly what services are going to be best for them before I do a full-out launch. So I am building somewhat a team. I have a team of business owners that are helping me discover the services that are going to be useful, services that they would actually use before I launch. The way you do that is just simply saying, hey, my name's Hayden, and I give them my little pitch, my elevator pitch, and introducing yourself, just getting out there.
Okay.
Well,
I think you and I are probably almost in the same phase. But what I'm trying to get to is, how do you move from that okay, we're associates, we like each other, we even have some common interests, to being team members. And now I'm assuming you don't have money to do it here. So I'm kind of like been exploring, and I have to admit, I've never pulled it off. But I really like the concept of work exchange agreements, which is something of the nature of, I will work on your stuff for 2 hours, and you work on my stuff for 2 hours. Has anybody ever done anything like that? Denise, have you ever seen anything like that? What do you think?
Yeah, actually.
So Denise, just before you go.
I'll let Hayden finish.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really interesting idea, but I gotta head out now. I got an appointment coming up in a few minutes here, so I gotta head out. This is really interesting, guys. I look forward to the next chat.
Okay, well, nice meeting you, Hayden, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it was good meeting you.
Well, welcome back, Prescott.
Thanks, Rob.
Glad you rejoined us.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries at all. We were just broaching the idea of work exchange agreements, and Hayden brought up. I kind of interpreted his comments saying we all have a lot of associates. We all have a lot of people we like, and how do you move those relationships to you're actually working together towards a common objective? And I have tried, and I've never been able to work the concept of a work exchange agreement, which is something like, I'll work on your stuff and you work on mine. I'll work totally in your interests and you work totally on mine. Let's say 2 hours a week, but it could be whatever. Denise, I'd like to get your thoughts just in general on those issues.
Well, I mean, all that is really a form of bartering.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, that's what you did. Here in Vermont, we actually have the Vermont Barter Network, and I am not a member. You have to pay a little membership fee to get into it. The problem with the barter is that it's always one-sided. Always. Yeah. Always. I mean, from when I worked at Vermont Teddy Bear, who's on the network, say Fletcher Allen Hospital wanted 100 bears on barter. Well, we have the option of doing it at 100% barter, which meant that we would foot the cost of all the bears in exchange for that amount of dollars to be used at the hospital for smoking cessation programs for employees or whatever. Or we could say, oh, we'll only do 25% of barter. You'll have to pay the other 75% in cash. And so, I mean, that's on a big scale. But when you start dealing with you and I doing that, well, I'm pretty sure you're going to do that. That you're going to do 100% of the time of that 2-hour block? You might. I might. But there's no real way to kind of really guarantee that or really ensure that.
It's a real tough nut to crack. And I like the idea, and I just think it's possible. But that one-sided issue is a problem. But, I mean, if we could, there are so many people working alone these days that if we could crack that, if we could find how to cooperate, I mean, that would be very, very cool. I think you probably know about the virtual brain trust. We're trying to do that. And this meeting was not about that, but just briefly what we're trying to do, and that is now a community on Google+, where everybody will have their own team, and that team is totally dedicated to their success. And you can, deliberate with that team, they can give you advice, and then in theory, you will be on someone else's team, and they will be dedicated to your success. That is actually, as an aside, and I don't like to be real public about that, that is a classic cell structure that was started by the French Revolution in World War II, and later it was used by Al-Qaeda. And if you read the 911 reports, they were actually kind of complementary to the organization that Al-Qaeda set up, because the cell structure is used when a small adversary is facing a much bigger adversary. And, it basically works. We want to use it as a force of good, not a force of evil. And we don't call them cells because we don't want to attract the interest of Homeland Security or anything. So we call them teams, which is a better name. But that's kind of what we're trying to do with the virtual brain trust. So anybody listening to this broadcast interested in that concept, by all means, join us. But let me get, I don't want these meetings to go on too long because I really do want them to be kind of informal coffee breaks. There's been some great ideas exchanged. Let me get everybody's parting thoughts here, including if it's not on topic exactly. I don't want people to worry about it. if you have anything you want to rant about or say. Prescott, we haven't heard from you since you dropped out, so why don't you give us any thoughts you have about this and anything else, because I'm going to wind this down.
Well, like I said, I think teams are good if you can find the right mixture of people. Obviously, that takes time. You got to build that relationship first, and that takes time. So it's just trying to look at all the different places that you are networking with. Let's say on Google Plus, let's say on the other networks, and be able to say, you have some similar interests than I do. I have similar interests than you do. What are we trying to accomplish, and can we accomplish it together? I know, again, I don't want to toot my own horn, but with our program that we have right now, we can actually help teams be able to be organized, be one together, because our whole software suite that's going to launch is all online, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay, well, go ahead and toot your own horn. What is the name of that?
What was that?
Go ahead and toot your own horn. What is the name of that?
Well, it's you can go to smashsolutions101.com.
Okay.
It's a new program called Smash Solutions, and it will actually allow everybody to be able to work within one area. So all your social media can be in one area. All your contact database can be in one area. It's unlimited. Your marketing analytics, when you do marketing campaigns, if you need to do marketing campaigns, it shows you how to do that. It's a full suite, and the beautiful thing about it is we're giving it away for free, so there's no cost to it.
Okay.
The only cost there is if you want to do some different types of specialized marketing, or you need other type of tools that we have that are available, like dictating notes when you're in a meeting, those type of things. So, and it was developed not just by one person, it was developed by a whole bunch of about 100 business owners that got together, and this was months ago, and said, okay, what is out there? What do we like about it? What don't we like about it? Can we put it into a system for free? And that's
that's a good pitch. So if anybody listening is interested in that approach, Smash Solutions, please contact Prescott. And let's move on to someone else. Let's move on to how about Andrew? Parting thoughts, rants on any subject, mostly cooperation and team formation, but anything else that's on your mind. Andrew, the dog, the 60,000 member dog network. We can't find anybody, with all the dog owners in the world, can't find anybody to work with, which is stretching my credibility a little bit. Go ahead, Andrew.
I think that there needs to be a good fit between you and your team members, and there needs to be incentive for everybody. There needs to be incentive for your team members to be playing on your team.
Okay. Anything else you want to say to the world?
Not right at this time. I'm trying to keep it on topic.
Okay. Okay. Well, dog lovers out there, Andrew is apparently the go-to guy, so you know who to contact there. And Denise, why don't you wind it up for us?
Just what everybody has said. Develop your teams wisely, because they're very cost prohibitive once you've made a bad mistake. So choose your people wisely and be as transparent as you can. I mean, if you are running into a roadblock financially, say, okay, here's the deal. We've hit the brick wall. We've got enough for, X amount more weeks or X amount more hours. What are some ideas so we can either make a wrap and release, or, do we do, Kickstarter? Do we, what do we do? Give us some options, and just be transparent with everything you do. It's
great thoughts there. That reminds me a little bit when you read startup books, which I can't do a successful startup, but I'm practically a walking encyclopedia of knowledge about it. But they all say hire slowly, fire quickly. Be really careful on selecting people, and then if somebody's not working, if they're toxic, just get rid of them. Is that your kind of thoughts on it too?
Not necessarily. Toxic, yes. If they're toxic from day one, bad hire, get rid of them. But sometimes it's hard to believe. I'm rather shy, so it takes a long time for people to warm up to me if they meet me on the street, because I tend to be very aloof. But once I'm ingrained, then I'm fun, and I'm the cheerleader, and I'll do all kinds of quirky stuff. as a hiring manager or someone as a project lead, don't be quick to turn someone if they're not working out. Figure out what's wrong. Is it a communication issue? A lot of times it is. If it's a culture clash, okay, is there a way to work around it? If not, then you know where the door is. But just try to see it from all angles. And if you have any sort of business or HR or, I mean, even from a religious background, someone who is a minister, a pastor, someone who is used to dealing with people on a broad basis, and talking about things, they will be able to help you say, okay, this isn't working out, or this is working out, or here is the different avenues that you should look at when dealing with the team, and then make your consensus from there. But not a slow to hire, quick to fire, because you don't want to hire quick. You don't really want to hire slow either. You want to set that right modicum.
Okay, good thoughts. You said so much insightful in this meeting that I think I'm almost going to want to go back and listen to the recording because you've had a lot of really good thoughts, Denise. And TM Lucas or Michael just joined us. Michael, you're late to the party. Can you hear us, Michael?
You need to undo his mic, unmute it.
Mike, you got to unmute your mic. We're winding down pretty quickly.
Well, no, I'm just a bad person. I'm sorry.
You are a bad person. I'm just kidding. We are winding down this meeting, and we've been talking about cooperation, all sorts of it, and team formation. So if you could say your kind of hello and goodbye in the same spiel, I'm sorry about that, but we're longer than 40 minutes.
I was playing off other people, actually, so don't put me first, please.
But you're not first, you're last. No. Do you have teams in your business? Are you trying to start teams, or how are you operating?
I need mega teams in my business. Mostly the business is setting up ways for people to get information about their governments and do it in a timely manner. And they're so far behind, and they're so out of the mainstream of data practice that there's a lot of manual work that needs to be done. So I'm looking for a good way to wrangle volunteers, both from the interested left and the interested right, because they're the people who are mad and would get motivated to actually type this stuff in.
Okay. Well, let me just kind of give a little summary of your project. I might not do it well, but Michael explained.
Give me 10 seconds for that.
Okay, go ahead.
It's called Citizen Intelligence, and it is dedicated to the idea that people actually can rule, that we can sort it out with modern data tools to about an hour a week per person of just paying attention to all the governments, because right now we don't even know what governments are out there. Try assembling a list of your own and then go and check reality, and usually you're off. I know I was the first time I did it.
Okay, so he's looking at all the little special districts and all the thousands of government entities that most of us don't even know about. And they're just sleepy little offices, and getting citizens involved in there. So it's a very worthwhile project. And Michael TM Lucas, am I pronouncing
Lucas?
Yeah, is organizing that. So by all means, contact him if you're interested. He's looking for volunteers. I'm going to wind this down. It's been almost 45 minutes. I'm always lying about how long these are going to be. But we're going to do these meetings twice a week now. We're going to keep the informal coffee breaks Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, my time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, whatever, 6 p.m. Greenwich time. And then we're going to do this Let's Talk About series, I think on Thursday. And I'm still playing around with this. I do want to have more hangout meetings like this and have the system where the entrepreneurs community we get to know each other and form those relationships. The next one I think I'm going to do and we're going to do a different topic every time. This one was cooperation and team formation. The next one I think I'm going to do on business startup ideas and the process of forming startup ideas. There's a lot of good material on that, and I've got a lot of it to share, and we'll bring other ideas to the table. So I want to thank you all for joining. This has been really interesting for me. I've learned a lot, even though this was a brief meeting. So that's it for now. I'm going to end the recording. People can stay here and talk among yourselves if you want. I'm going to go shortly. But I'd like to thank you all for joining us. Anybody listening to this recording, I'd like to thank you as well. So Rob out.